What's up, everybody? We're not singing, we're just talking. It's Call to the Bullpen, NFL Draft Edition. Well, at least for the first part of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be recapping the NFL draft, which happened, was it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or something along those lines. It
Thursday.
is Monday night, the 29th. So we are a few days past the aftermath of what was the NFL draft. And Jared, I know you got a lot to say coming from us Giants fans. Why don't you kick it off with your first topic here?
Yeah, obviously the whole football world was just shook after the Giants. Just gonna cut right to it. They took Daniel Jones, quarterback out of Duke, that they were already heavily rumored to be interested in heading into the draft. They took him not with their third pick, which was for early in the second round before they traded up. Not with their second pick, which was the 17th overall they acquired for Odell Beckham in the trade with the Browns. Nope, they took him with their first pick in the draft, the sixth overall, with Josh Allen, premier edge rusher, what some people argued was the best defensive player in the draft, and someone who wasn't supposed to fall outside the top five. He fell to the Giants, and the Giants said, we don't want him. They decided to go with Daniel Jones out of Duke, who was, for everything we've heard in sports media, was one of the least hyped quarterbacks of this draft. Certainly had less praise going in than Dwayne Haskins, Kyler Murray, and Drew Lock, and he was projected by most to be a second rounder.
Yeah, absolutely. There is the big factor of the fact that he went to Duke and he's got a connection to the Manning family. So I know those played factors into this pick. I don't know. What I just don't get is they had to know for a fact that somebody was going to take him before the 17th pick. They had to, because if not, it was a complete waste of a pick. And if he's your guy, fine, fantastic. But he's not going to start for another 3 years anyways. So how do you know that, in 2 years, your guy is not going to show up and Daniel Jones is a waste of a pick? And you're going to trade him away just like the Arizona Cardinals did with Rosen for a third round draft pick of next year's draft or the year after. And it's an irrelevant pick. I mean, you're right.
It was their second rounder of this year.
Well, whatever, you know what I mean. But but you're right. Josh Allen was there. He was available. He fell to them, which nobody thought he was going to leave even 3, 4, or 5. A lot of analysts thought that he would either go at the latest to either the Raiders or the Buccaneers, and I mean that's the absolute latest. Obviously because Nick Bosa was pretty much going to San Francisco, and I mean Quentin Williams is a pick that I don't think a lot of people saw coming.
Oh no, I think they did. I think there was a debate. I think that there were some people who speculated Quinnen might go to the 49ers, but Bosa was generally the top graded defensive lineman in the draft. But after that, it was kind of take your pick. Some people were feeling Allen, some people were feeling Quinnen Williams, but most people projected the two of them going to the Jets and Raiders, whichever order that was going to be. So the fact that he fell to number 7 to the Jaguars is very surprising.
Correct. And the fact that the Jaguars picked him at number 7 is not surprising because he fell to them, which nobody thought he was going to. And they did what they should do, and that's pick the best player available at their picking position. The fact that he even fell to 7 is absolutely astonishing. I absolutely love the Jaguars pick at number 7 of taking Josh Allen. Like I said, he wasn't supposed to be there. And a lot of people are giving this Giants pick of Daniel Jones, a grade of D and C plus at a highest, and I've even seen people giving it an F of just an absolute failure. Everybody else pretty much did what they were supposed to do. It was a little surprising of Clelin Ferrell going to the Raiders.
Very surprising. He comes from a good program, but again, did not grade out nearly as highly as Allen or even some of the second-tier defensive linemen like Ed Oliver, Rashawn Gary, or even though he fell all the way down to the mid-20s, Montez Sweat was praised much more heavily than Clelin Ferrell. He was a guy who most people thought was going to go between 10 and 20, but top 5 was definitely a shocker.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard from scouting reports on this guy is very inconsistent. He could be an A plus player, half the season, and a total F the other half of the season, and he's just not. He's not a consistently good edge rusher. And, granted, they need edge rushers, but you had Josh Allen at number 4 available, and even Ed Oliver, I think would have been a better pick than Farrell was in this position. But
Well,
you
he's
know what?
no Oliver's not an edge rusher.
Well, I mean, either way, it's still a defensive lineman. They could use him regardless. But either way, I still think Ed Oliver could have been a better pick at this number 4 spot for the Raiders. But they got who they got, and obviously they saw something in him. A lot of people are upset with the pick. I don't think it's a good pick at all. Daniel Jones is still a worse pick, but everybody else pretty much got who they needed.
I think for the most part it was best player available for the most
yeah,
part.
absolutely.
For the throughout the first 15, 16 picks, I'd say pretty much understandable, although one that really just confused me was the Lions getting TJ Hawkinson, considering that they just signed the ex-Steelers tight end Jesse James to a 4-year deal in the offseason. I mean, when you take a tight end in a top 10 pick, you're thinking that he's going to be an immediate impact player in your offense. I don't know if the Lions are maybe thinking they want to go with a 2 tight end set because they had a lot of trouble blocking last season, but this is still kind of I think that they would have been much better off taking an Ed Oliver or a Devin Bush here.
Oh, absolutely. One funny comparison that I saw of TJ Hawkinson, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are comparing him to Rob Gronkowski in his ability to block, which fantastic. I'm not saying he's Rob Gronkowski, but I think the best line that I saw of a summary of this pick was, "Can he rush the passer? Because the Giants defense can't rush the passer." So I think that sums up the fact that they needed a defensive guy in this position. They really needed a pass rusher. They needed an edge guy, and they took a tight end instead. So I mean, listen, if he's great and you think he's your future tight end blocking receiving guy, fantastic, fire away. I mean, if he's your leading receiver going forward, all right, maybe we can justify the pick. But I think they really, like you said, needed a guy like an Ed Oliver in this position.
Or you bolster the offensive line because, like I said, a lot of trouble protecting Stafford last season. So,
absolutely.
So Jonah Williams, who he pretty much graded out as the top offensive lineman available there. But I mean, the Bengals, it's tough for them because it's like they're going to be scrutinized because the franchise is in such a bad way. Like there was not going to be one pick in this draft that was going to magically change their fortunes for the coming season. But I mean, it's a good pick. It's a talented guy. It's a team with a lot of holes, so you can go nowhere but up. And it wasn't a bad choice.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what happens there. But on the position or on the point of the Lions needing offensive line guys. I mean, at least he is, Hawkinson's praised as a good blocker. So hopefully that'll help in that situation there. So then Ed Oliver went to Buffalo.
Yeah.
I think that was a great pick for him. I think he's going to be a really special player. People are comparing him to Aaron Donald. I don't think he's an Aaron Donald. I mean, Aaron Donald's one of a kind. But I think he's going to be a great player for Buffalo, so I don't think that was a bad pick at all.
He's drawn comparisons to NFL Hall of Famer John Randall.
Absolutely.
That's what they're saying about him. And honestly, the Bills were, they were not a bad defense last season. This is a team that didn't really have a lot of talent, but they were very well coached, well disciplined last year, and they turned out much better than a lot of people thought they were going to. They put up a fight in most of their games last year, even though they finished 6-10. However, that was a few more wins than a lot of people thought they were going to get. So it's not unheard of, especially considering that the Dolphins, although they never seem to be as bad as people think, it's going to be tough. But you've got the Patriots who, just due to Tom Brady's age, the wheels could fall off, within the next few years, and the Dolphins look to be trending in the wrong direction. The Jets are unproven, so the Bills could string together a decent season.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills, honestly, they didn't do horrible last year. I mean, they didn't do great, but, I think they definitely looked up. They just signed a running back, and I'm totally having a blank on it.
These are all the people
TJ Yeldon. He's not great, but, it's a body.
If you do a back by committee deal, like maybe him and Gore can split some carries.
Yeah, but I mean, Yeldon wasn't horrible down in Jacksonville the last couple of years. I mean, obviously he, sat behind Jesus Christ. Leonard Fournette. I almost just said LaShawn McCoy because I'm mixing my teams up now. He sat behind LaShawn. Yeah, LaShawn McCoy. There it is. Sat behind Leonard Fournette for most of the starts because obviously Leonard Fournette's just a better running back. But in the games that Fournette sat and was hurt, I think Yeldon actually held himself pretty well down there. So I mean, like I said, it's not the greatest pickup on the planet, but it's a body for an aging running back core. And Frank Gore, he's still got some heavy hits in him, so you could stuff him in on the line, and I'm sure he'll put half a dozen scores in this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that defense is going to be the Bills' strength. Obviously, the back by committee deal for their offense makes a lot of sense because they want to create some unpredictability. The fact that they got Josh Allen, who is a dual threat quarterback. In fact, at times he was more impressive with his legs than his arm last year. They did add a couple B-level receivers for him. I don't think either Cole Beasley or John Brown are game changers, but again, they fit the tone. It's obvious, what they're going for with their offense here. They're looking for a bunch of speedy guys, yeah, I mean, there's no studs here, but they're trying to create a little bit of unpredictability and try to get away from those big body defenders. So we'll see how it works out. Could be a fun season.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like we said, they've added some weapons to hopefully bolster that team, and I think they have a pretty decent defense there. Micah Hyde's still a great safety. Jordan Poyer, I gave him some praise last year. I think he played really well, and I think he could still play pretty well. So definitely a solid team that they got, and they'll keep going forward with a young quarterback now. Dwayne Haskins, I think he's one of the bigger names in this draft here. I mean, I think he went where everybody pretty much thought he was going to go. I mean, I heard Redskins for the last month and a half. So I think he pretty much went where everyone thought he was going to go, and it's a good pick for them. It's just going to be interesting with all of the injured quarterbacks that they have of when people come back, if people come back, are they just going to cut people, or are they going to trade people? What's the deal? I mean, they got so many injured guys now. I mean, do they have a starting quarterback battle once everybody's healthy? I don't get it.
I think that Alex Smith they've forgotten about at this point. I mean, he might still be under contract, but I don't think he's going to be ready for the start of the season, and that's an aging player with coming off a very serious injury. So I think the Redskins are they're clearly already planning on moving on. The fact that they got Case Keenum and then they drafted Haskins means that they're over Alex Smith at this point, and I think they're probably thinking Keenum's the insurance policy and somebody reliable enough to start the season if Haskins doesn't pan out the way they want him to in training camp. Maybe he starts the season on the bench and has to earn his way into the starting job. I don't know really with Haskins. I think that he impressed a lot of people with his play because he had the best season out of any quarterback in this year's draft. However, it was a very thin class, and we got to remember this kid was just a sophomore. So I know he got better throughout the course of the season, as Max Kellerman loves to say, and he played for Ohio State, which is a high-profile program that everybody likes to cheer for because they're a front runner. But it's a small sample size with him, and some people have attributed his success to the coaching. Plus, the Redskins have a habit of just ruining people, especially quarterbacks. So I'm not going to place super high expectations for him becoming a premier passer in this league. However, he was really upset that the Giants didn't draft him. There's that video of him just shaking his head and laughing when they took Daniel Jones. So he, rightfully so, felt burned by that because I think on paper, like given what we knew about the quarterbacks going in, Haskins looked like the most talented selection at number 6. But going back to that Daniel Jones selection, I just have to say, Dave Gettleman, from everything he has said in the wake of this pick, it seems like he believes that Daniel Jones is not just the best quarterback available at the time he took him, but somebody who he believes is one of the best going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league over the next 10 to 20 years because he invested now in somebody that he said he doesn't envision playing for another 2 to 3 years. He thinks that he could sit behind
At a minimum.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, he said that he could see Daniel Jones sitting behind Eli for 3 years. And when you consider that a lot of rookie quarterbacks, they maybe do that for 1 year or less than 1 year, he didn't just want any quarterback. He wanted this kid specifically, not taking somebody else in 2 years, but he thought he had to get this kid right now So there's a lot of pressure on this pick to deliver.
Yeah, and I mean, I just don't get it. I don't know where the praise for this kid comes from. I don't understand. He wasn't take it with a grain of salt. I don't follow college football a super amount, so I can't say I watch this kid play all the time, and I don't think he's a good quarterback. But just looking at stats, I mean, he wasn't that good. In his 2018 season, which was his last season, he left as a junior. He had a 60.5 percentage completion percentage, 60, which is really not that freaking good. Threw for 22 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and he averaged 6.8 yards. 6.8 yards pass. I mean, it's really
He's
not, and that's in
got
11 games.
he's got good
I mean,
accuracy over the throwing short over the middle of the field, but downfield was said to be problematic. He was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school. Um,
it just doesn't make sense.
they when Eli met with him in the in the off season leading up to the draft and all the evaluations they did on him and with they like the coaching background, of course, they they saw a lot of comparisons to Peyton and Eli Manning, and that's what drew them to him. But my goodness, there's just a lot of pressure on this to hit because just what they sacrificed to get him, the fact that they, you wind up getting, I mean, we can just lump all their picks together here, and they wind up getting Dexter Lawrence at number 17, which, when you consider that they could have had Josh Allen, you go from getting a premier edge rusher to a very good, athletic, big bodied defensive tackle, but not the sack monster that they could have gotten. And it's like, when I look at this draft, there's a lot of B plus players,
Yeah,
but there's no A. And when you gave up Odell, you gave up an A player. You needed like that home run pick that makes people go, wow.
absolutely.
So now it's basically, there's a lot of pressure on Daniel Jones to become that guy so that then the narrative becomes, oh, they gave up Odell Beckham, but then they got their quarterback for the next 15 to 20 years.
Absolutely. And I just don't, I mean, listen, I hope this kid proves me wrong. I hope he gets on a field and just absolutely annihilates every team that we play. I don't see it happening. I just really don't. You're right. We gave up, a star player, and we really needed that home run player in return. Granted, I know we got multiple players for a star player. We also got a lot of money in return. So what we could do with that money is also on the flip side of things, sign or extend Shepard for a couple more years, things like that. I know there are more factors that play into the Odell trade than just, okay, what pick did we get and what player did we get for that pick? There's multiple factors coming into giving away a player like that. But you're 100% right. The fact that we got a pretty good defensive lineman, he's a run stuffer. He's not the pass rusher that you needed. The Giants' major issue is pass rushing on that defense. And all right, yeah, fine. We got a giant body to sit in the middle of the line and run stuff. Okay, so now the quarterback just sits in the pocket for 15 minutes until he gets a wide open, wide receiver, throws it down the field because we have no pressure when Josh Allen's sacking people in Saxonville. So it's, I don't know. I mean, we can argue all day long about it. I don't think it was the greatest pick, wasting the 6th pick on Daniel Jones and taking the defensive player at 17. Like I said, unless they knew for a fact a team like the Dolphins were 100% taking Daniel Jones, or I don't know. I don't even know who else would have taken him. Maybe the Redskins and not Dwayne Haskins and let Haskins drop to somebody else, but that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So I don't see another team on this draft between 6 and 17. We'll say 16 because that's when he would have gone. So those 10 picks, I don't see somebody that would have gotten him.
I see two.
Jacksonville doesn't need him. I don't think the Lions need him.
No, the Lions were actually said to be the most likely candidate to take him. If it wasn't the Giants, it was going to be the Lions, which is not inconceivable. I don't really think it would have happened, but it's not inconceivable. The Bengals would also be a candidate, but again, I think if the Bengals were going to go quarterback, they would have taken Haskins, so they passed on him. It's definitely it's a tough argument to make. I find it hard to believe because Gettleman said he knew for a fact 2 other teams, refused to name them, were going to take Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I mean that's the only reason I can think taking him, but still, it just doesn't make sense at 17 or at 6 to use that pick on him. Especially unless this kid is in 3 years going to be, the Aaron Rodgers of football, and he's going to be the greatest quarterback on the field. I don't see it happening. So now our number 6 pick is sitting on the bench for 3 years at a minimum before he starts, which means we're stuck with Eli for another 3. I
Yeah,
feel like a number 6 pick is a guy who needs to be an immediate starter. That's what the top 10 is. The top 10 players of the draft should be immediate starting players. Kyler Murray, I doubt he's going to get passed out for a starting position in Arizona because there's nobody there to pass him out
they
anymore.
just got rid of
Nick
Rosen.
Bosa, start immediately. Quit, whatever. No, Rosen, they just traded Rosen. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, no, I was agreeing. I was saying, yeah, they just traded Rosen.
Oh, I thought you said no, there is Rosen. I was like, nah. Nick Bosa, immediate starting. Williams, immediate starting. You know what I mean? All of these guys are immediate starting players. And even down to Dwayne Haskins, immediate starting player. So our number 6 pick, we're not even going to see him.
I agree.
He's going to hold a clipboard on the side for 3 years.
Oh yeah,
So.
I mean with Eli Manning, obviously he's within his last couple of years, probably in the league, last 2 or 3 years. You'd think you want to give him all the support you can. And Francesa was ranting about how, like, how is, if you're saying that you want to win now with Eli Manning, how does this help him win now? Someone who's going to hold the clipboard for 3 years. So it's definitely a tough pill to swallow. I mean, hopefully, other than this pick, I mean, like I said, no home runs, but some very solid picks throughout the rest of the draft. The Giants actually invested heavily in their secondary because thanks to free agency, they actually they're kind of full now at linebacker. They seem to have their 4-3 their 3-4 I should say set as far as their front seven goes. So it seems like their strategy is they just got 3 big body run stuffing dudes up front, and Tomlinson is somewhat of a sack threat, but not really. And Dexter's probably going to sit in the middle, and they're banking on getting their sacks from that linebacking core led by Marcus Golden if he stays healthy. Although they did scoop up an edge rusher in the end of the 3rd round, O'Shane Zimenez, who was he was a sack leader at Old Dominion last year, which not a bad pickup
Yeah.
coming in at
No, I don't hate that pick at all.
toward the end of the 3rd round. Yeah, not too terrible. But
Yeah.
I think their best picks were definitely the corners that they acquired. They got
Absolutely.
Julian Love, which was a steal in the 4th round, I believe, and it was 4th round. And then after they traded back into the 1st they gave up their 2nd overall pick and I believe a late rounder next year to get the 30th overall. They took DeAndre Baker, who was graded out as the top corner in the draft, coming in from a very good defensive
Absolutely.
program in Georgia. So I like what they go on. This is the replacement for Eli Apple after they traded him last season. I'm a fan of that move. I'm a fan of Janoris Jenkins mentoring these kids. Love was said to be a total steal, and now you got Jabril Peppers coming in as your safety, and obviously Antoine Bethea is also just a veteran short-term solution. But there's a lot of youth in that secondary all of a sudden, and there's a lot of a lot of optimism as far as coverage goes, and the defense, like I said, they're really at this moment you don't see any A+ dominant defenders, but it's very well balanced, I think.
Absolutely. And just to touch on a couple of their other picks, we did take in the 5th round a linebacker, Ryan Connolly, on top of everybody else that we've already touched upon. And then Darius Slayton, he was ranked as one of the fastest receivers in the class. So it's nice to get a little bit of speed, even if he's a punt return kind of guy or you put him in the slot. I have heard that his catching ability is not great at times. He does tend to drop a lot of balls, so that's a little scary. But again, if you use him as a special teams kind of guy, or even just a short game pass screen kind of player, nice to have a fast body on there. Then we did pick up another. I mean, we're talking late rounds here, but we picked up another corner in the 6th round, Corey Ballantyne.
Oh, you hear what happened to him?
Yeah, I was going to say he was actually involved in a shooting. Him and a teammate, I believe. I didn't really read the article, to be honest. I just saw the headline. I think his teammate was actually killed in the shooting, and he was injured in said shooting. So, hopefully he gets healthy, and best wishes to him and his family in a time like that. But I think overall, other than Daniel Jones, I don't think it was the worst draft on the planet. I think we got some bodies that we needed. I like I've said this whole time, I would have switched the 1 and 2, and that's why we're here. And Dave Edelman's in the seat that he's in. But yeah, so that's what I got on that. And just to touch back on the quarterback scenario with Dwayne Haskins in Washington, there. Alex Smith is not planning on playing football this year. He's still in a cast and on crutches, recovering from his multiple surgeries and an infection in that leg. And then I'm totally blanking out. Colt McCoy. I wanted to call him Cody for some reason. I don't know why I'm messing up so many names today. Colt McCoy is recovering from a third surgery, which he just received earlier last week. Within the last 7 days, he received a third surgery on that leg. So I think that eliminates two of those players. And Haskins is probably going to have that starting position under wraps relatively easily. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. But other than that, I mean, I think it was a pretty good draft. You had guys like Noah Fant, tight end out of Iowa, going to the Broncos. Jeffrey Simmons going to the Titans. Montez Sweat was another big pickup by the Redskins. I think that's a great move by him. And there was talks about health concerns with his heart.
Yeah, heart condition.
Within the first or the couple days leading up to the draft, but apparently he was reevaluated and those conditions were shown that they were less than they were actually played up to be. So when he was drafted, those concerns were, let's just say they went from like a B plus risk to, almost a D or an F. They were almost irrelevant once he got another evaluation. And apparently a lot of GMs knew about that, but they had also already taken him off their list of a player to potentially be picked. So, I think he went a little later than he could have. I think he definitely could have went a little earlier had he not, been diagnosed with these heart conditions. But I mean, that's, what comes with physicals and making sure there's not issues with your players, because you don't want to pick a player in the first round and have him never play football for you. So, I totally get it, but I think he's a great player. He's an extremely fast player. He's got phenomenal ability on the edge rush. So I think he's going to be a great addition to that Redskins team. Another great pick by them. I mean, honestly, I think the Redskins won the first round. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I mean, two phenomenal picks by those guys.
It's gonna depend how it pans out for them. I mean, the Giants obviously had the most picks with 3. Obviously whenever you're talking about like taking quarterbacks, I mean, quarterbacks just tend to be gambles in the draft because we've seen so many top 10 busts or just first round busts in general. So it's going to obviously, if Haskins hits, then this was a great first round for the Redskins. I thought that the Jaguars had a terrific draft. They got 2 total steals in this draft. They get Josh Allen at number 7 in the first round. That's a steal. Then in the second round, they get Jawan Taylor, who in a lot of mocks graded out as one of the top offensive linemen available. Some people gave that nod to Andre Dillard, who went to the Eagles at 22. Yep. That was also considered a pretty darn good pickup for them, especially considering that Jason Peters is getting old. So, he's off the team now. I'm sorry, but either way, they got rid of him recently. So there you go.
Correct.
So that's a good pickup for the Eagles. But yeah, then the Jaguars going to get Jawan Taylor, who, much like Montez Sweat, fell down because of injury concerns. People drafting in general is risky, so injuries tend to scare people away. However, we've seen with players like Miles Jack in the past that just because someone has a slight injury concern coming out of college doesn't mean that his NFL future is doomed. So
correct. I mean, people have to realize that these kids are, 19, 20, 21 years old. They're going to heal from stupid little minor injuries relatively fast, even if it's a couple months in the off season. They'll be all right.
Yeah. And another team I want to give a shout out to is another team that had multiple first round picks because of a trade with the Seahawks, and that's the Green Bay Packers, who really, I got to hand it to them. They got really aggressive this offseason. They got a new head coach, and they decided that we're going to ramp up our defense. We're not just going to rely on Aaron Rodgers to dig us out of every single hole or climb out of every hole that we've dug ourselves into. They went out and they really bolstered their defense. I mean, the fact that in the first round here, you acquired Rashawn Gary, who was among that second tier of pass rushers to target, certainly a first round pick by many. and Darnell Savage Jr. at safety to join Adrian Amos. So that's a great, pair of pickups they had got for that secondary. And
Absolutely, and Savage, he's an extremely fast player, and I think he covers a lot of ground. So it'll be a great addition to Adrian Amos, who is more of a power hitting safety than he is a coverage safety. So it'll definitely be a great addition. And that was one of their worst positions last year, was the safety position. Their secondary was absolutely horrendous. So the fact that they picked up Adrian Amos and a guy like Darnell Savage in the first round was awesome.
And on top of that, I mean, you're talking about adding Rashawn Gary to a defense that now includes Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith. So all of a sudden, their pass rushing threat just improved tenfold.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely great pickups by the Green Bay Packers. One pick that I do just want to briefly touch on was the 32nd pick with the Patriots. They took N'Keal Harry, which apparently is a pretty fast, good wide receiver, but what scares me is the fact that the Patriots don't really play fast on the outside. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be an interesting addition. I mean, they definitely needed a wide receiver, especially with, Josh Gordon probably not playing football ever again because he can't stop getting high. And what's also interesting is the fact that the Patriots actually took a wide receiver in the first round, or a player in the first round for that matter, because I don't think since I've been alive they've had a first round pick. So definitely an interesting pick there. And they did take a quarterback later in the draft. I think it was the 5th round. I'm going to double check myself though. Ba-doop, 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 boop,
I think you were right.
Fourth round. I apologize.
Rounder,
the
yeah.
133rd pick. They took Jarrett Stidham out of Auburn, which apparently has a really good arm, and he was a great quarterback at Auburn. So maybe this is the future of the Patriots. Jarrett Stidham.
Hey,
there you go.
Tom Brady was a 6th round pick, so
he was in fact.
Yeah, the Patriots are not a team that prides themselves on getting.
Don't knock the hustle.
They don't get the sexy top 10 picks. So this is definitely with their MO. Other steals I want to mention, the second round was honestly littered with a lot of good pickups here. Players that were praised heavily but slipped out of the first round for certain qualities that raise concerns. I mean, Drew Lock is one I don't understand, but the Broncos, they got their quarterback. I thought he was a great fit for Denver. A lot of people thought he was going to go with the Broncos' first pick in the draft.
They stole him with the 42nd pick down there. So, I think that was a great pickup.
He might have the best fundamentals of any quarterback in the draft.
Absolutely. I think he was definitely a top tier quarterback in this draft. People have compared him to, a Brett Favre and a Jay Cutler, type player. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I hope he's a little bit more of a Brett Favre than a Jay Cutler, just out of principle. Jay Cutler sucks. But yeah, I mean, I think a great pickup for them. Definitely a team that needs a quarterback. I mean, they've needed a quarterback forever, since obviously Peyton left. So could be the future of the Broncos.
Other guys I want to mention. This was not obviously. I mean, we talked briefly about receivers with the guy the Patriots picked up, but Paris Campbell and DK Metcalf were two of the more praised receivers heading into the draft, and they wound up falling all the way down to the end of the second round. I think the Colts. He was projected to go to them. A lot of people thought maybe with their first round pick. So I think that's a terrific addition for Andrew Luck, because last season showed them, hey, we competed without much of a team. Let's give Andrew Luck a team. So I think that was a really smart move. And then the Seahawks get DK Metcalf, who also there's concerns of inconsistency in footwork with him. But
yeah, absolutely.
But Russell Wilson, I mean, he needs some help back there. There's not a lot there beyond Doug Baldwin.
Metcalf's a big body, dude. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a big guy. So I mean, if Pete Carroll and that offensive team can really put this kid on the map and get him to a position where he's a little better than he is now, I think he can be a major wide receiver for them. So I mean, I think that he was an absolute steal at the 64th pick. I mean, I was surprised he went this long. I was texting you the whole time, like, why the hell is nobody taking DK Metcalf? I was so surprised that he didn't go a lot earlier than he did. I honestly thought that he was going to end up in the third round, just watching the fact that nobody was taking this kid.
Yeah. Another probably the last second round steal I want to touch on is Greedy Williams, who throughout the early to middle of last season was talked about as a potential first rounder and the best corner available in the draft. He fell because of his tackling ability, which it's been called shoddy by a lot of people, but coverage-wise, he might be the best corner in the draft. So having him opposite Denzel Ward, that just, the Browns are loading up. They're gearing up for a potential, I mean, some people are saying Super Bowl run. I'm not going to go that far, but they should be a contender.
Yeah, we'll see. Browns are looking pretty good this year. See if they can make it all the way. I think that's going to be it, though. I think we touched on a lot of the draft and a lot of different players
Sure did.
and teams. So,
Ravens did
I know
great
there's
too.
been
Don't want to give them the
the
shaft.
Ravens did. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Ravens did great too. So, I mean, we could sit here and argue different picks and who should have went where and why all day long. So, if you are listening and you have a question, comment, or concern about your team or any other teams, I know there's been a lot of arguments about Gettleman and the Giants, and obviously we touched on pretty much all of that. Send us a shout out, shoot us a message, comment on our shit. Let us know what you think, and we'll debate it and argue it and whatever you want, talk about it. So comment on our stuff. We're going to get into baseball.
So it's baseball o'clock.
It is. It is baseball o'clock, baby. Talked a lot of football. Let's get into the baseball talk. We might as well start off with the team that we are always, or we are all a fan of, which we usually do every week.
The Yankees? Pittsburgh Pirates.
The Pittsburgh Pirates. Yeah, the Trenton Thunder. The Yankees are fucking kicking ass right now. For a bunch of scrubbed up AA guys. I mean, come on.
I tell you, Brian Cashman, he is without question the best general manager in baseball. And right now,
Epstein.
Right? Maybe not without question. No, he's got
Epstein.
Huh?
Theo Epstein.
Okay. Broke two massive droughts.
He did.
I think that right about now, Cashman's trying to figure out how he can swing a deal so that the Yankees can play the rest of their season against the Angels and the Giants.
Literally, or just with the guys that were playing. What's nice to see? The guys that are playing right now are playing small ball. And I have not seen the Yankees play small ball, I don't think ever. We're all spoiled. We love Judge hitting home runs. We love Stanton hitting home runs. We love Sanchez hitting home runs. But all these guys are coming up and just hacking for the fence. And it's solo shot when you're down by 3. Solo shot when you're up by 1. Solo shot in an 8-0 game. What about when you're down by a run in the 7th inning? You get 2 guys on, and, granted, I get it. Sanchez comes up. You're probably not going to bunt with Sanchez. But even down towards the bottom of the lineup, I've seen a lot of guys with first and second, nobody out, down a run, swinging away and either grounding out or popping out or striking out. But right now, with this team that we have going, a lot of guys are bunting. They're hitting the other way. They see a hit. They know a hit and run is on. They see a second baseman going to cover second base. They slap it in the hole. They're stealing bases. There's a lot of small ball going on, and I absolutely love it. And Kyle, I've argued about the Yankees playing small ball in the past of the fact that they should, and people coming up in bunting situations and not bunting. I don't care if you're Gary Sanchez and you're down a run with 2 guys on. If nobody's out, fucking bunt. Get the guy over so you can potentially tie the game instead of striking out.
So yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, unfortunately, you have guys like Keith Law who have that book called Smart Baseball, and he's completely against bunting, and I just think that's wrong. This team is very old school, and I texted you earlier saying now is when I would judge Aaron Boone, because you can't really manage when you're constantly looking for a home run, because what are you managing?
Nothing.
So now you have Luke Voigt. Okay, he can hit a home run, but
Absolutely.
He also has a 39. Is it now 40? On base
it was
streak?
39 as of yesterday, I believe.
Okay,
I could be wrong. It could be 40. I mean, it's either one of the two. I know it's at least 39.
right. And now you have Gary Sanchez back. Okay, he can also hit a bomb, but the other 7 guys, you're not looking for a ball to go over the wall. If it does, great, wonderful. But these guys, as you said, they don't strike out. They put the ball in play. They're fast. You know who was catching on? Yesterday, bases loaded, nobody out. Here comes Sanchez. Hits a rocket at the shortstop. Dude boots it. Last year, does he beat that out?
No.
He busted his ass out of the box, beats it out.
And that scored a run.
And I believe you get an RBI for that.
Oh, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
the fact that he ran down the line for the first time ever because he was the guy that would walk halfway down the line and turn back into the dugout because he was too lazy, and that's why they benched him for a couple games last year, and everybody bitched at him for not running. So the fact that he's busting his ass down the line really shows a lot of hustle, and I didn't even notice that, so I appreciate the fact that you brought that up.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, when that ball was hit, and I knew Crawford, who's a very good shortstop, when he booted it, I was like, okay, no play at second, probably an easy out at first.
Yeah.
And Sanchez beat that out. I was like, thank you.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely
the guy we want.
Absolutely.
And that's who he can be. He is good enough to be that guy. And with Judge out, with Stanton out, with Hicks out, with all these guys out, he's showing leadership that he has not shown in years.
The fact that Sanchez has been heating up, granted he grounded into the double play like you stated a moment ago. It did score an RBI. It was a hard hit ground ball, made the shortstop bobble it. I'm okay with hitting a hard hit ground ball. He didn't ground back to the pitcher and ground into a double play, and he busted his ass down the line. Then he comes up and he hits a grand slam on Saturday. These guys are producing runs, and it's not like we're scraping out 2-1 wins. I mean, I know there was a couple extra inning wins, but even those were 5-run, 6-run games. Going in until it was tied into the end of the game, and most of that was the bullpen's problem for giving up leads. That wasn't even the batter's problem for not scoring runs. It wasn't 1-1 or 2-2. It was an 8-8 game that the bullpen freaking blew.
And I'm glad you mentioned that too, because it would be one thing if the Yankees were picking up these wins, because they do obviously have a talented pitching staff. It would be one thing if they were winning these games like 3-1 or something like that, where they're getting quality starts and the bullpen's really holding it down, but you could sense, oh my gosh, they're missing all these bodies in the lineup. It's like, no, they're functioning very, very well as an offense right now. Like you guys mentioned, playing small ball and moving the chains, getting guys on base. Like, we need a guy like Gio Urshela in this lineup. Somebody who's batting .351 right now through the 15 games that he's started, and he's got more runs scored than RBI. Those are the types of guys we need to balance things out, because even with all these injuries, with Voit, Sanchez, and Glaber, once he gets some momentum going, those are your big boppers right now. And they're obviously going to be getting guys like Stanton back relatively soon, and Judge whenever he returns. Andahar this weekend, hopefully. So there's obviously no shortage of power guys in this lineup. What they need are single and double guys to balance things out, get on base, and score runs.
Absolutely, and the fact that they are scoring runs is very impressive. I mean, let's just go back to we're going to go back to just after they lost the 4 games in a row, the 3 to the Astros and the 1 to the White Sox. They won the second game against the White Sox 4-0, then they lost 2-5. Then it started this big winning, I don't want to call it a streak because there was 2 losses in between, but regardless, big winning, we'll just say it's a streak, whatever. First game against the Red Sox, 8-0. Second game, 5-3. Then they lose 6-1. Then they win 6-2, 9-2, 7-6, 4-3, 7-5, 6-5. They even put up 5 runs in their loss to the Angels and 6 runs against the Giants. 11 runs against the Giants. These aren't 1-0 games. These aren't 2-1 games. I mean, they're putting up 5-6 runs at a minimum a game. I mean, it's very impressive for a lineup of a bunch of schmucks that who the hell would have thought any of these guys were going to be on the starting lineup to begin this season. I mean, we thought this lineup was going to be one of the best Yankee lineups in years, and we have a bunch of no names that are winning baseball games.
Voigt's crushing it though.
It's absolutely crushing it. Kyle, go ahead.
My favorite sequence so far during this entire season. A couple games ago, Tyler Wade gets an infield single, steals second, steals third. When was the last time we saw a Yankee player do that? I'm just trying to think.
I mean,
ever?
A specific time, I can't think of a specific time. Probably Brett Gardner at some point in his heyday.
Like early Gardner. You're talking about early Gardner.
Yeah, maybe even like a Curtis Granderson kind of situation, somebody like that. I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but I mean, you're right. I can't think of a time that guys stole second and third like that.
Yeah, it's just fun baseball, man. And Luke Voit, as you guys said, he's been tearing it up.
And he's loving it too. You could see that he's just got so much energy in him. And, he's got so much passion when he plays. Back when Sanchez was lazy last year and would walk down the first baseline and guys broke his balls about not having that passion and that attitude about when he's on the field. Luke Voit there was a ground ball yesterday. He bounced to his left before the pitch, and the ball was one step too far to his right, and it was in the third inning. It was the first hit that Domingo gave up.
Yeah,
he missed the ball. Yeah, it was against the pitcher. He missed the ball by half of his glove size. So had he not bounced to the left, he would have gotten it. But regardless, he slams his fist into the ground because he was pissed that he missed a simple. I'm not saying it was a simple ground ball. It was a hard hit ground ball to his right side. But regardless, you could see that he's mad that he didn't get that ball. It wasn't even an error. It was a hard hit, ground ball through the infield that he just couldn't get to, but he was pissed that he didn't get it. And you can tell when he gets on base, he's clapping his hands. He had a single that scored 2 runs, I think it was, or maybe 1 run in that same game yesterday. And he came around at first, clapping his hands, pointing into the dugout, pumping his fist. He's jacked up and ready to play. And we need that right now. We need guys that have this grit and this attitude and this confidence to them to really keep this team in a fire lit under their ass.
I completely agree. He's a whole new spark, and it's wonderful.
Absolutely.
It's so much fun to watch. Like, I'm going to the game Sunday, and I can't wait to see Luke Voit play. Like, I'm taking my son, and I'm going to point Luke Voit out.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, please watch this guy.
Absolutely.
He just loves baseball.
Absolutely.
He could – I just want to know who the hell was in charge of the Cardinals organization. Like, I understand the owner and the GM, but none of these scouts thought Luke Voit was good enough to play in the majors?
I don't know, because he's fucking great right now, and he's huge. That dude is a fucking monster.
This is what separates guys like Theo Epstein and now especially Brian Cashman. Indians, they gave up on Urshela. Cardinals, they gave us Luke Voit for Chasen Shreve. I don't even know if Shreve is still on the Cardinals.
This could go down as one of those, when Voit cements himself as the next Jason Giambi, that could go down as one of the worst trades in recent memory as far as lopsided goes. What a steal!
He's 28 years old. I tweeted this yesterday. Who cares? I tweeted it a couple days ago. He should be a key cog in this franchise for a long time.
10 years, sure. Why not?
I don't think he's still on the Cardinals, for the record. I don't see him on their Shreve. I don't see him on their roster. He should have a job in baseball.
It was awful.
But still, the fact that that's who we got for him. So.
Oh, sure.
And you're right. I mean, I'm not going to say Voigt's going to be here for 10 years. He's 28, but I would have no issues even giving him a 3-4 year extension at the end of the season, assuming he keeps playing well and doesn't drop off.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's just hope this isn't just a little hot streak and this goes for a while. But I mean, if this thing goes for a while, who knows? Maybe the kid will make the All-Star game. But it's nice to see him just.
We thought it was a hot streak last season.
Go ahead.
We thought it was a hot streak last season because it was a small sample size. And I think he even mentioned this in a recent interview, how he had a lot to prove coming into this season, even as good as he was at the end of last year, that it was at that point, just a hot streak, and he could have been a fluke for all they know. So he's played like one of the better hitters in the American League so far this season. So he's got the power. He's been an RBI machine. He's just got to keep it up, and he looks like he could finish among the tops in baseball as far as run-producing, power-hitting juggernauts at this point if he keeps up this pace. He's just been fantastic. He's been the best hitter on the Yankees. He's been the reliable guy with everybody getting hurt.
Oh, yeah, and he's absolutely a fan favorite, too. I mean, he is so much fun to watch. I hope he keeps it up.
Yeah.
But here's a fun question. All right, not a question. That's a statement. I'm going to say it, and I don't care. I like Voit in the 2 spot better than Judge. I say Judge goes to the 3 spot when he comes back.
I mean,
not the worst idea.
I don't know. It's an argument to have.
They like Judge's on base
I've never
percentage.
liked Judge. Yeah, I've never liked Judge in the 2 spot. Even with the full lineup, I think it's stupid. I get that people have to pitch to him in the 2 spot, but people have to pitch to him in the 3 spot or the 4 spot anyways with a full Yankee lineup because there's nobody in that lineup that you want to pitch around or that you want to pitch to. So I would be okay with a guy like Voit in the 2 spot because I think he gets on base a lot. Clearly he's had a 39 game on base streak or 40, whatever one it is now. I think it's 39, but regardless, you get a guy like that on, and then you have Judge behind him in the 3 spot who can hit him in, and a guy like Sanchez who's absolutely killing the ball right now in the 4 the 4 spot, and they got to pitch to all of them because who the hell are you going to pitch around? You're not going to put Voit on to get the Judge. You're not going to put Voit and Judge on to get the Stan. And you have a guy in the 1 spot that can walk or bunt or get on with a single or a leadoff double. There you go. So I think it's a good problem to have. It's definitely a problem of who we're going to put where, but honestly, I think it's a good problem to have.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great problem to have.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when they're all healthy, like your 2 through 5 is going to be ridiculous with Judge, Stanton, Voit, and Sanchez, whichever way you decide to organize them. I think that Sanchez is probably most likely to drop to number 5, but that's not necessarily a bad spot for him. And then you talk about when everybody's getting healthy, Andujar and Glaber rounding out this lineup. I mean, right now, Glaber is a fixture, a cleanup hitter because of all the injuries, but I mean, when he drops back down toward the bottom, that 7 or 8 hole to create that bookend so there's no safe zone for a pitcher, this Yankees team is going to be really, I mean, they're already proving to be dangerous and very effective, but they're going to be a nightmare.
And we're not even talking about Clint Frazier coming back, which he could be back possibly this weekend. Andujar should be back Friday, if all goes well in his rehab assignments. Can we just for 1 second talk about acquiring Cameron Maybin, and he's instantly making an impact?
Instantly making an impact. Getting on base, making plays in the outfield, got a couple RBIs already. I mean, and he's old as shit. So, like, the fact that he's actually doing something.
Is he?
Yeah, he's been around for fucking 11 years or something.
He's mid-30s. They needed somebody who could play the outfield. He was literally toiling away in the Indians' AAA. I mean, he must have really come out of nowhere because the Indians know how thin their lineup is. The fact that they didn't think he was even worthy of the major league roster. Flipped him to the Yankees, and he had a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, no, absolutely a good weekend. I mean, listen, once we get a full roster back, I don't think he's going to stay on there. They'll probably trade him away for the cash that they got for him, or just send him back as a free agent somewhere. But a great pickup. I mean, who would have thought? Yeah, let's go get Cameron Maybin. He'll do something. I don't know what the hell kind of crystal ball Cashman's got, but it's fucking working right now, so I don't really care.
I think that was more of a what can we get for nothing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But,
so they sent over some cash, and they were like, it was Cameron Maybin, and the Indians were like, okay.
Yeah, seriously. Get rid of him. No, I mean, I hear you, absolutely. But clearly he's helping already, so great move by Cashman, and, he'll be gone once we get a full lineup, but not bad at all.
On the injury front, it looks like Andujar, he's made great progress in the extended spring training games, and they're saying he could be back in action this weekend against the Twins, with Frazier not far behind him, potentially maybe this weekend, but I think they might be cautious and go early next week against the Mariners, which don't hate, but they were talking when he first got hurt like it was going to be a minimum 10 days type deal, and then he rehabs 1 game and he's back in the lineup, so want to see him back.
There was a rumor we could possibly see Frazier, Hicks, and Andujar this weekend against Minnesota, but I don't. Hicks wouldn't surprise me.
Really? Hicks is that far along?
Yeah, he's taking live batting practice. I shouldn't have said Hicks, but yeah, Hicks. Yeah, he's taking live batting practice. I wouldn't be shocked if he played. I do expect to see Andujar and Frazier back.
Now,
It's definitely be nice to get Hicks back.
What is the deal with Stanton though with the shoulder deal? Is he like out for another week or 2?
They're saying he had a cortisone shot in his left shoulder. They expect it to be very, very minor. But who knows, man? It's one thing after another with him. Unfortunately, he played 159 games last year. So that's good. So, I mean, listen, the team is winning, so I think they should take it easy with him. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping we see him sometime mid-May. Mid-May.
So
I think is no thanks. Mid-May would be a good timetable for him.
Yep. And Judge, of course,
it's so nice to get these guys back.
Judge, of course, is going to be out for long term. So the sooner they get Stanton back, the better. But obviously, it's not hurting.
Who needs Aaron Judge when you have Mike Tauchman?
Ugh. Yeah, and LeMahieu's now day to day, so that doesn't help either.
I'm not worried about him.
No, neither am I. But
knee inflammation.
Yeah,
not a big.
And I mean, at least they have the day off today. So that's a good
warm weather in Arizona tomorrow.
Exactly, warm weather in Arizona tomorrow. So hopefully that'll loosen that up. I mean, and thankfully the New York Yankees have multi-million-dollar training staffs to make these things better. So.
And
yeah, but do we trust them with their?
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Clearly,
has
the
not
training
been a
staff
good
is
2019
absolutely
for them.
horrendous. So, anyways, on another note, the Tampa Bay Rays
Just the
can't say
Rays.
devil anymore. Can't say devil. Sorry. Ooh, spooky. Are still in first place. Freaking 18-9. I don't know where the hell you pulled this one out of, but
pitching,
you were right.
and more
They're
pitching.
a legitimate team.
Yeah,
They're a legitimate team.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised at all. They have faltered a little bit, even though I guess we couldn't expect them to win 140 games.
That would have been something, huh?
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised at all. I thought the team was very good last year. They won 90 games, and they improved quite nicely this offseason. So for me, I thought Tampa Bay making the playoffs is an easy choice.
Yeah. I mean, clearly you're right.
We'll see what happens, but I also
the Red
didn't
Sox
expect
are still
Boston
horrible.
Yeah, I didn't expect Boston to be 11-17, and I gotta say, Chris, can I point out Luis Severino has the exact same amount of wins as Chris Sale?
True that. True that.
Yeah,
that's true.
Sale's struggling. If Sale can't get it together, then no, they're not making the playoffs.
To be fair, some of Sale's bet lately, he at least has regained some of his velocity, and he's shown some longevity in games. Like, he hasn't been totally abysmal, but he just hasn't been. He's yet to discover the true Chris Sale form, and he's been really hard on himself, just talking in interviews about how he's flat out sucked. He's making no excuses, and even though his last couple starts haven't been the worst thing in the world, they're certainly not up to par, and he's still winless on the season. And the Red Sox just gave him this gargantuan contract extension after he was coming off an injury that clearly last year hampered his performance, and it's carried over into this season.
Yeah, but if you're the GM, and let's say you lose Sale after just winning a World Series, and he goes somewhere else, let's even say he goes to the Yankees and dominates, how bad does that look?
Well, he'll never go to the Yankees.
Why wouldn't he? Johnny Damon came to the Yankees.
Johnny Damon.
Bernie Williams almost signed with the
The
Red Sox.
Yankees don't have a need. They don't have a need to overpay for an ace. They got James Paxton on somewhat of a bargain to get a.
Oh, how good has he been?
James Paxton's been great.
Exactly. And the reason
even Jay Happ has turned it around. I got to give Austin credit for that one.
Yep.
I lost faith in him, but he's been good. He's boring. I love it. Be boring. A boring pitcher is a great pitcher.
Absolutely. Tim Wakefield had a phenomenal career.
Exactly.
Chris Sale, just for the record, is 0-5 with 30 innings pitched in a 6.30 ERA.
Who's the guy they faced last night? Glasnow, I think his name is. They acquired him in the trade with Pittsburgh for Chris Archer.
Glasnow's a stud. He's been phenomenal.
Yeah, look at his stats. They're talking about him and Austin Meadows. What a trade for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, absolutely.
For Chris Archer, and fuck that guy.
Chris Archer's a bum.
Yeah, Archer was always overrated. I mean, strikeout pitcher, yes, but very inconsistent. The rest of the numbers don't really support the ace claim. I mean, yeah, he's, some pitchers that rack up a lot of strikeouts, they're not necessarily dominant. They just happen to get them after 8 or 9 pitches, and that doesn't really do your team a lot of favors. It's just, okay, the guy's going to throw 5 or 6 innings maybe, and half his outs are just by happenstance strikeouts. It's totally different than Justin Verlander going out there and legitimately mowing people down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just to touch on the Red Sox, they are winning 7-4 right now against Oakland. They had Eduardo Rodriguez start for them today, and he gave up 4 in 4.2 innings. So, and then they took him out because he gave up 4 runs in 4 innings. But they at least put up a 6 spot, so they are up 7-4 in the bottom of the 5th inning. So could be a potential W for them to get back on track.
I mean, nobody in their pitching staff has been good. That's the thing.
Absolutely not.
From the starters to the bullpen, they've allowed the most runs in baseball besides the Orioles. So they've allowed the second most. And I mean, Dave Price, we know he's inconsistent, but he's been okay compared to everybody else. When you look at, Eovaldi getting hurt, and then Porcello
that's massive.
Porcello has been horrible. Sale has been pretty much horrible. They have no relievers. They never replaced Craig Kimbrel. I'll say that until the cows come home, because there's nobody in that bullpen. And on top of that, the offense isn't really performing up to par. I mean, Mookie's got more to give. Without
Can
question.
we talk about the fact that Craig Kimbrel still doesn't have a baseball team to pitch for?
Neither does Dallas Keuchel.
Neither does Dallas Keuchel.
Yeah, because the Brewers just signed Gio Gonzalez.
Yeah, great. What the fuck does that matter?
It doesn't. He pitched well for them last year, though, heading into the playoffs. Keuchel, what could Keuchel be asking for? At one point, do you just take a 1-year big money deal?
You have to.
At what point do you just take a 1-year any money deal?
That's what I was going to say. Maybe he's not even worth the big money at this point.
Imagine making so much money in your life that you just don't. You could just take a year off. You just don't need to work. It's like, no, you know what? You're not gonna pay me enough for me to come to work.
He
take a 1-year, $8 million deal and just go pitch. Who gives a shit? If you get hurt, you still made $8 million fucking dollars.
Or if you think you're hot shit, take a 1-year, $8 to $10 million deal.
Yeah,
with a fuckload of incentives.
Absolutely. I make the playoffs. Give me another, $500K a year. I get 2 wins in the 2 saves, 2 wins, whatever the hell for whoever we're talking general population. I get 2 wins or 5 saves. Give me another $1 million. I mean, come on, man. Take something. Just oh my god.
Yeah, whoever his agent is absolutely overvaluing. Both their agents
probably Boris,
are overvaluing
Boris
them.
is a scumbag. But I mean, or is he just going to wait to see who's in first place come the All-Star break and go sign a $5 million deal with a team that's in first place to win another World Series ring? What if the Houston Astros are 9 games ahead of let's just say Seattle, or they're 9 games ahead of second place come the All-Star break? Do you sign with the team that's the front runner just to help them put them over the edge? Hey, listen, we'll give you $5-6 mil, sign with us for a year, figure it out next during the off season.
This is off topic, but I'm gonna cry about it till the cows come home. Why did Mike Trout sign a long-term deal with the Angels?
I don't know.
12-17. You're already how many games back?
I know. He's the best player in baseball, and his career is going to die in Los
We're never going to
Angeles.
see him in the
That's
postseason.
another team with just no
Correct.
pitching, and now they're paying Trout so much money, they're not going to have enough to build a team around him. I mean, this is a team.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I know Pujols is at the end of his run, but there was enough of an overlap, I think, the last couple seasons with their production to where if they had somewhat decent pitching, they could have at least gotten a wild card slot. 90 wins when you have the best player in baseball and a former best player in baseball that was still pretty productive anchoring that lineup. That shouldn't be too far-fetched. I mean, the Yankees did it with mediocre pitching.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating as a baseball fan to know, not even think, just know I'm never going to see Mike Trout play big games.
Yep.
It just feels that way, and I don't even think their farm system is that good. I could be wrong.
I doubt it.
But they never call anybody up that were like, oh, here comes this guy.
Yeah,
Speaking
I've never heard of them having
Vlad
anybody
Jr.,
in the farm
fucking
system.
awesome.
Yeah.
But you never hear anybody coming from the Angels organization.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just because you brought him up, for those who weren't aware, we did post about it, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the son of the baseball legend Vladimir Guerrero.
Pop quiz. What team is Vlad Guerrero in the Hall of Fame with? What team is on his cap?
Probably the Expos, I would assume. Or the Angels?
Austin's second guess.
The Angels? I was right.
Yes.
All right.
It is the Angels.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, that made sense. But yeah, so Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Was called up, which was our argument for the last, 6 months of why the hell he wasn't. Actually, probably even into last year of why he wasn't.
2 years.
But yeah, he was called up with the Blue Jays. Got a hit in his first game down the right field
the game-winning run.
Technically, the game-winning run, correct. He got the rally going for them to win the game. So yeah, great on him. And I know he's had a couple more hits since then. I think he had one last night I looked at, or the night before, whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, he was 2 for 8 coming into today.
Yeah, so a couple of hits. I mean, listen, he's not going to be phenomenal right off the rip. He's got to get a little used to it. But it was nice to see, his father at the game. Junior did support his father by wearing his Expos jersey going into the stadium, which I thought was really cool. And there's a nice little video out there of when Junior got his first hit and Vlad going a little crazy in the skybox. So go check that out. It was a really cool moment for a father-son duo. Unfortunately, not on the field at the same time like the Griffeys were, but, still a really cool moment in baseball.
Can I just say, hold on.
Go ahead.
If anybody in the Toronto area, in Canada, upstate New York, for all I fucking care, if you're a Blue Jays fan, can you please go to the game? Can you go watch this play? Why is there less than 30,000 people at Vlad Guerrero, possibly a Hall of Famer, making his debut? Yes, I'm going to say it because he is that good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely is that good.
Go to the game. Your team isn't even that bad. What's their record? They're a third place in the AL East. They're 500.
Yeah.
Go support your team.
You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong.
Come on.
You know, I mean, it's like Zion Williams' first NBA game. I'm sure that'll be sold out.
It's going to be fucking... He can be on the fucking Hawks.
Yeah.
The Suns.
I mean, I don't know anything about basketball, but I know the Suns suck. So, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, this was a milestone day in, baseball history of a player of this caliber making his debut, and there was 26,000 people there or something.
Could you imagine if he was making his debut as a Yankee Stadium? You wouldn't get a seat.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. Be $2,000 a seat.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. But
Man.
Welcome to Toronto. Nobody gives a shit because it's Canada and all they do is play hockey.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what? Hockey, and you know what? They even pushed off his debut because Game 7 of the first round of the NHL playoffs was like Tuesday, so they pushed it to Friday.
Yeah,
so that
the
viewership and people showing up would like come to the game, and they still didn't go to the game.
28,000, which actually for Toronto is very good this year. But dude.
Well, that's like you asked me. You were like, "Well, how many people you think are going to be there?" I'm like, "I don't know their average fucking attendance, but I mean, the fact that 28 is the max for a debut like that is just stupid."
Yeah, I thought, okay, maybe Saturday it would have an uptick. Yeah. No. Sunday, no. Come on, Blue Jays fans. You have fans.
It's like Tampa Bay. They should just rent a little league field from somebody because they have, 647 people show up to a game on a regular basis.
I mean, they have fans. Remember the playoffs? Like Bautista, the home run, the place fucking erupts, and Carnage, home run,
it's the playoffs.
Erupts.
It's the only time they showed up for it.
It does seem that way. But man, come on, guys. And I said it before and I'll say it again. I do think Vlad Guerrero is gonna he's gonna cause an explosion in Canada for like youth baseball and everything.
How long do you think he'll stay on the Blue Jays? You think he'll stay there for life?
Well, no. I could see him having like a Miguel Cabrera type of career where he's somewhere and then Toronto eventually will want to pay him and he'll go to like Detroit, will give him a big money deal, or maybe go to the Angels.
Maybe go to the Angels.
A big market, goes to the Yankees.
That would be interesting. Boston. But I mean, then again, they'd be shelling out a lot of cash for him and for Trout. But how cool would it be to see him go to the Angels and play with Trout?
I mean, think about it. He's already probably kind of pissed off that it took him this long to call him.
Oh, absolutely.
So I can't imagine Duran.
They asked him. There was an interviewer that asked him why, and I think I touched on it a couple episodes ago.
You did.
They asked him what they think about him not being called up, and this was before it was even announced that it was going to be Friday, because the Blue Jays said that they were going to call him up within the next couple weeks. This is a couple weeks back, but regardless, his response to that was like it was something along the lines of, well, I know I'm ready. I didn't know I had to hit over 478 to get called up to the major leagues or something like that. I know he was probably joking around a little bit, but legitimately, I mean, he was hitting 470 in the minor leagues to finally get called up to the majors. It's just the shitty organization of the Toronto Blue Jays. They're a horrible organization.
Well, the problem is it comes back to the service time manipulation. What that is, if you don't know, is if a player, when you draft him or sign him, if he's in your minor leagues for a certain amount of time, certain amount of years, you actually can gain an extra year of control. The latest example of it to really hit home, I believe, was Chris Bryant, who the Cubs kept in the minor leagues for an extra year and 2 weeks, I believe it was, just to gain an extra year of control. Now, my argument to that is, and they are going to change it in the collective bargaining agreement, if you think this guy is really that good, call him up, let him play, and if he is performing, extend him. I mean, do you really want to piss him off right away?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Especially a player like that, I wouldn't want to piss him off right away. I'd want, especially a player of that caliber, I'd want him on my team. I mean, it doesn't make sense why. I don't know. It's just stupid. Let's leave one of the best players potentially in baseball in the minor leagues because we don't want to pay him a little bit extra money. But that's just how Toronto is. Toronto treats everybody like dog shit. I don't care who you are. The Yankees don't leave anybody in AAA until they're ready. I mean, there was a couple of pitchers that, Justice Sheffield, that we argued could have probably pitched at the end, towards the end of last season because of injuries, but they probably knew that they were going to trade him in the offseason anyways, so they probably left him down there so he didn't get hurt pitching in big games. It's a shorter season down in the minors, so leave him down in the minors, make him look good down there and send him somewhere else instead of bringing him up, having him get his ass kicked, and then he's not, good enough. So
the Yankees did keep Gleyber Torres down longer than they should have. But
Did
you
they
could
though?
make
I mean, like they got him. They got him up there. I mean, within.
Yeah, he didn't stay the whole time. I don't know. I don't think they actually gained that extra year of control, but he was down there for a little bit, maybe a little longer than he should have.
Well, they acquired him in mid 2016 when he was a Double-A prospect, I believe. He had not even played Triple-A by the time they got him from the Cubs, and then after that, he did 2017 in the minors. I think he got injured.
Yeah. He did. He tore his I'm sorry, not his ACL. He got Tommy John surgery on his left elbow.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was the argument.
Yeah, wasn't that his non-throwing elbow?
Yes, he dove in a home plate in a game.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
there was the argument that
the
he needed that
not
time.
Well, yeah, because you don't have to throw with it, correct?
Yeah,
to start swinging is a lot earlier in the timeline of Tommy John recovery than throwing is, obviously. But
yeah, so like Glaber, yeah, they made the argument, oh, he needs some time, which fine. But he was ready right out of spring training. But yeah, he came up like what, 2 weeks into the season, not even.
Yeah, but we're not talking about because they didn't want to pay him.
Oh yeah, no, that has nothing to do with that.
But that has everything to do with Toronto because Toronto sucks.
Yeah. Just so you know, to put a number on it, Glaber only played 23 games in AAA before his major league debut.
There you go. And Vlad Jr. was in AAA for what, 2.5 years?
Glaber also only played 32 games in Double-A. So that's 50.
So played 50 games in the
that's when he got hurt. Was it Double-A or Triple-A that he got hurt?
Still, regardless.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right. They called him up. Wow, that's even quicker than I thought. No, great. But unfortunately for Vlad Guerrero, the Blue Jays are more interested in having control of him for an extra year to attempt to sell tickets than they are to actually win ball games, which give a team like the Mets credit. They had Peter Alonso start the season with the Mets. They didn't get that extra year of control, but they're trying to win now. You know what? You have to give them credit.
Well, I will not give the Mets credit for the fact that this is just how much the Mets make everyone miserable, because it's not just their own fan base. They even take away people like Christian Yelich from us because, of course, he gets a back injury against who else? The New York Mets. Having a terrific season, only upstaged by Cody Bellinger, who's equaled his homer and RBI output, but his batting average is like 100 points higher because he's out of this world right now. But Yelich, phenomenal campaign, and now he's day-to-day with back injury.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we've seen Yelich, Bellinger, Trout, and Judge. A lot of guys getting hurt early in this season. I'm not going to bother mentioning everybody else in the Yankees. A lot of injuries this year. It's not fun, but hopefully Yelich comes back soon, and it sounds like he will.
Just for argument's sake, do you want to hear how many games Vladimir Guerrero Jr. played in the minors? From 2017 until his debut, he played, take a guess, I'll give you within 20.
150.
212.
294 baseball games.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said 2017? Is that what you said?
From his minor leagues.
I was only thinking 2018.
His debut.
Whoops.
He hit 323 in A-ball, 381 in Double-A, 271 in whatever the hell RK is. I'm sure that's some kind of fucking weird off-season league. And I lost my spot. Where the hell did it go?
Basically, they dicked
333 in AAA until they finally called him.
Unbelievable.
So
that's unacceptable.
330 on average, maybe even 340 on average in the minor leagues until they finally brought him up. Just dicked him around with 140, 108, almost 200 RBIs in 290 games. Almost average an RBI a game.
How do you explain? You know what? Maybe that's why the fans like, fuck you.
Yeah. I mean, I would be. I mean, I would want to go see it because he's a phenomenal player, and I want to support him. I also absolutely loved Vladimir Guerrero Jr. as a baseball player. I thought he was incredible. So, but yeah,
the fact that too is the fact that the Blue Jays. I mean, most people are not expecting them to make the playoffs this year. I'm certainly not, even if they're kind of competitive at points early on in the season. But right this second, they're only 4.5 games out of first. They're only 3 games back of the Yankees, who are the wild card leader right now. They're at 500. So that means that Vlad Guerrero Jr. could absolutely be an impact player on this team. This is not an experimental shit with a team that's down in the dumps. This team is fringe contender. Maybe he pushes them over the top. Who knows? But we won't get to find out because the Blue Jays suck.
They are 3-0 with him in the lineup.
There you go.
They're on a 3-game winning streak since he joined the team. I mean, granted, is he the biggest impact to win those 3 games? I'm not saying that he's the only reason, but regardless, the fact that you're 100% right.
Yeah, but just having a guy like that in your dugout.
They're also playing Oakland, so like,
well,
wins are wins. Most teams are bad.
A W is a W.
You look at the American League. Most of the competition is bad. There's only a few. Yeah. There's a few good teams. Most people are mediocre or worse.
Yeah, well, that's because you have GMs who give away fucking Mike Talkman, Gio Urshela, and Luke Voigt.
And even the Indians, who are one of those good teams, they're about to just sacrifice it all. Be like, fuck it, we suck, whatever. It was a fun few years, couldn't get the championship. Oh well, time to be awful.
I mean, seriously, you're going to trade Cameron Maybin? I'm just kidding.
You're going to trade Cameron Maybin for $100 and a bag of dog treats?
Your dog's like, yes.
Yeah, my dog's like, what do I have to do for a dog treat? Oh, Jesus. Fucking Cameron Maybin. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're wrapping it up on that one.
I think so.
Wait, let me ask one more question.
Yeah, fire away.
I wasn't here for your football segment for good reason.
Yeah, Kyle doesn't really follow football that much. He's a fan at heart, but
yeah, I do the fantasy football thing, but forget going in depth. What should I expect out of Will Greer, and is he going to replace Cam Newton?
Who the fuck is Will Greer?
Will Greer is let me take that. He's the 3rd round quarterback that they got. Most people believe that he's not better than the current Panthers backup, and the problem with taking a quarterback at 3 is usually.
I'm hearing people tell me he's going to replace Cam Newton. It was coming from football people.
I don't know. I mean, Newton isn't like a bona fide elite passer in this league. Who if this kid upstages him in training camp or preseason, whatever, maybe not this year, but going forward, it's not out of the realm of possibility. But the problem with taking a mid-round quarterback more often than not is you're too half pregnant on the idea. If you take a quarterback in the 1st round or the 2nd round, you're thinking about a guy.
What did you just say?
Yeah, it's like
half pregnant.
Yeah, it's a saying. So
it is.
Yeah, well
I never heard.
I've never heard anybody say that in their life.
I just said it. So anyway, as I was saying, you're not really leaning too far one way or the other as far as like. You take a quarterback in the early rounds that says, I'm looking at a guy who could potentially be my starter within the next year or 3, something like that. You take a late round quarterback, that's a depth option. But, usually if it's somebody in the mid rounds, it more often than not just turns out to be a guy like, we should take a quarterback. Our situation isn't the totally great long term, but we don't want to totally tear it down, blah blah. It's a very indecisive pick because it's too low to be a strong impact player, and it's also too high when you need to address other areas on your team. So you just kind of get out of it. This is why the Giants, they got those the guys that they've gotten over the last couple of years, like Lauletta and Davis Webb. That's like the example of a wasteful mid-round quarterback pick.
Makes sense. But I was hearing, granted, it's Skip Bayless, so
Skip Bayless just argues, just fucking argue.
Yeah,
he's kind of like you.
He was yeah, that is true. I don't even believe half my own arguments. He was saying that, and actually, it wasn't just him. It was a couple guys on Undisputed saying that Will Greer they thought was actually the 2nd best quarterback in this draft. So I
don't know about that one. That's a little far-fetched.
I've never heard of the guy.
I never heard of the guy. I think Drew Lock was a lot better than most of the quarterbacks in this draft.
I also never heard of the guy we drafted, Brian Burns, I think his name is.
Yeah, pretty good edge rusher out of Florida State.
Did we address our defensive back need, or are we going to continue to ignore that just because Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, and whoever the fuck the Buccaneers quarterback is? It still Winston?
Jameis Winston? Yes.
Okay, so him. Do we have a defensive back to stop them, or are we going to continue to get burned for 300-400 yards?
You did not draft a corner.
Good. So things are...
So look it up.
Part of the course.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the episode. Talked a lot of football, talked a lot of baseball. Let us know what you think. As always, wherever you are listening, we are available on that. We're also available on iTunes, Spotify, Libsyn, Stitcher, and YouTube. Yep. We do have our Instagram page, our Facebook page, and our Twitter page. And then we also have We also, that's where I was getting. We also have our individual Twitter pages. Jared's still got his Jared Talks Loud. I have
the fuck
Austin
does Bubba Ray, Bully Ray helping Wrecking Ball put me through a table last week? Pieces of shit.
Yeah, that's on there. I have mine at CTTB Austin, which is Call To The Bullpen, if people were wondering. And Kyle, which is the opposite, has at Kyle CTTB.
Yeah, I fucked up.
Nah, it's all good. I can always switch mine. No big deal. But yeah, so reach out to us, follow us, let us know what you think of the new episode, and our questions, comments, concerns on the draft and in the MLB standings and rankings. And
please let us know if you're concerned, because Lord knows I am.
Yeah, absolutely. And my ult moment of the week goes to Jared for using the term half pregnant.
Yep, that was going to be mine.
So that'll be my moment of the week. When crazier shit happens, I'll have better old moments. But, there's really not a lot of old moments going on in baseball right now. So,
yeah, just please don't use the expression half pregnant.
Ever.
I'm still stuck on that. I'm probably going to be stuck on that until next episode.
Oh, God.
Which I'm sure we'll bring up again.
Probably.
All right, guys.
Anyways.
Yell at me on Twitter.
At Call To The Bullpen. At CTTB Austin. At Kyle's CTTB. Give us a listen. Give us a follow. Give us a shout out. Let us know what you think. Jared, what do we do? And who the hell are we?
We get half pregnant and we...
Yo, can we title this episode Half Pregnant? Is that possible?
Fuck.
It's like half baked, but pregnant.
That's it.
Oh, shit.
Call To The Bullpen. We're hanging up.
Ooh.